Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the second video stream of Happy Go Lucky with Asia. Today's episode is pretty much what is listed in the title, Black Women for Kamala. And as you guys know, I am a Christian supremacist, so everything that we talk about on the show is going to be told through a Christian perspective. Um, a lot has happened this week. Trump spoke at the National Black Journalists Association. I believe I got that right. And he kind of pissed off a lot of people. I would say the elite class. If you were to talk to regular people didn't actually care about the things that he said. Well, I'll say they weren't offended by the things that he said. I think he hit it right on the nail with a couple of subjects that was brought up, even when he was dealing with that hostile ABC reporter. This particular episode, though, I do want to bring my focus into Kamala Harris. I do intend to show you all that clip of Donald Trump at that conference, if you will, where he does bring up and question Kamala Harris' race when he has that back and forth with the journalist. And even though with the journalist, you can see that pushback from this Black woman, everything that I've been seeing online, whether it be Twitter and YouTube from individual citizens, right? Regular folk, Black women, I've been seeing that they are pretty much in alignment with Donald Trump. I don't know where this support is coming from for Kamala, but it's definitely not legitimate. It's a smokescreen. It's an illusion. But as I said at the top of this, right? This is a Christian show, and I do like to talk about things from a Christian perspective. Personally, I believe that we have removed Christ from our society so much, and we've become so secularized and so atheist, if you will, that we are having a hard time focusing on things from the Christian perspective. And so I want to kind of fill in that space with Happy Go Lucky. I want to talk about it from that perspective. And so everything that I'm seeing from Kamala, I just feel like, she's pretty much lying. She's being deceptive. All her political maneuvers, whether it be swapping between races or flip-flopping on different policy stances, whether it be, we're going to secure the border, even though she's a failed border czar. We're going to, start fracking, even though she said publicly that she's against it. All of these political maneuvers that she's doing. But I'm not going to focus on the political maneuvers. There's a lot of content creators that are talking about that. And I'm sure down the road throughout this campaign cycle, this election cycle, I'm pretty sure I'm going to end up talking about those flip-flops. But today, I want to talk about her race swapping. I think that's the biggest thing I want to talk about, because it's not just that she's switching between races for her own political convenience. It's the fact that her entire campaign is pretty much regressing to the old school Democrat Party with the segregation and the different Zooms for different groups. We're going to talk about that. And I actually am going to show you a clip later on in this episode of the Karens for Kamala. I don't know if it was called White Women for Kamala or Karens for Kamala. The fact that they segregated white women was outrageous. And I did see a reaction from a group of women on a panel where they talked about how this was just a disgusting display of pretty much racism. Because think about it. There were no Black women on that call to really voice how they felt about these white women and their so-called privilege. This was a space where white women could pretty much just dive into their white guilt. Like, this is what Kamala Harris is festering in her campaign. And so race has become this huge thing in this election cycle. I mean, I know it always is, but I feel like it's far more worse now because of these segregated Zooms that she's doing and the race swapping that she is doing. I think it's quite obvious that her race swapping it's a huge implication that she's deceitful, right? She's completely shifting her identity and her political stances just so she can have a broader impact on a specific voter block. And so as Christians, it's our job to be able to see through that hogwash, right? And so that actually got me thinking about, what do we Christians, how can we Christians look at this? And so I thought about 2 Corinthians 4:18. So we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but what is unseen, since what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal. Now, I want you guys to keep that scripture in mind because it'll help us focus on the deeper truth of the matter as it relates to Kamala's swapping of the races. Again, the scripture, 2 Corinthians 4:18. So we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen, since what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal. Now, keep that in mind. And it really just leads into everything we can pretty much expect moving forward from her campaign, right? I mean, Kamala Harris is pretty much, she is a prominent figure in American politics. I mean, how she got there is beyond me. I mean, yes, we know she has a promiscuous past, and that got her through the ranks in California, but I don't think she slept for a job to become the vice president. I think she changed her identity from Indian American to later becoming Black because it suited her political career. It advanced it. Because why couldn't you be the Indian vice president, the first Indian female vice president? No, it's because Joe Biden said that he wanted a Black woman vice president. And so it became inconvenient to be Indian, but more convenient to be Black. So she switched, just switched because it's politically expedient. Forget about being authentic. Forget about being who you are. Be yourself. Well, then what the heck are you, Kamala? Because you're clearly not that. You're clearly not being authentic. You clearly aren't. And so when someone calls you on it, now, not just Kamala, but a whole lot of people want to get upset that Trump, for the most part, wanted to call her out on that. The swapping and the switching. And so that brings us to the very first video I'm going to share with you all today, ladies and gentlemen. I want to show you the video of Trump at that conference. I'm sure a lot of you have already seen this video. I know it's everywhere. Everyone's talking about it. I just saw that Charlemagne the God, which is totally blasphemous. Charlemagne, because I'm not going to call him that anymore, ever again, actually. But Charlemagne just pretty much said, oh, it was wrong for Trump to say what he said about her race. No, he wasn't wrong. It was accurate. It was necessary. And I think it's okay that we talk about it, especially if he makes this a part of his his campaign strategy. I am going to hit play on this, but just in a moment, to those who are trying to convince you, ladies and gentlemen, that it's wrong for him to talk about this. Remember, this plays into the idea that she is a phony. She is a fake. Her swapping her identity and her pretending to be someone that she's not as it relates to that dialect she was using, it's like you're being fake, you're being phony. And the fact of the matter is no one's buying it. And it was good that Donald Trump called her on that. I mean, let's call a spade. No one bought that nonsense that she was Black. We're just going to hit play now.
Donald Trump.
Okay, let's get us there, right?
To other questions here. Some of your own supporters, including Republicans on Capitol Hill, have labeled Vice President Kamala Harris, who was the first Black and Asian American woman to serve as vice president.
Okay, so where did Asian come from? I heard Black, Jamaican, Indian. Where did Asian come from? Like, you see what we're saying about the swapping of race. It's like she's only identifying as whatever she needs to be because it's politically convenient for her career. Anything she has to do to advance herself into power, she's willing to do. Now, here she is as the vice president of the United States, and you expect us to believe that she got here on merit? Yeah, we all think she's a DEI hire. Come on.
On a major party ticket as a DEI hire. Is that acceptable language to you? And will you tell those Republicans and those supporters to stop it?
How do you...
Why stop? Because yes, she is a DEI. She's apparently a melting pot in one, right? She's Black, she's Indian, she's Asian. That's diversity. E means equity. Come on. She didn't get there from merit, ladies and gentlemen. She got there from her promiscuous history and pretty much BSing her way into power because all she had to do was fit in with whatever demographic that she was losing votes in. And all she had to do was identify as that group to get their votes because, oh my gosh, representation matters.
How do you define DEI? Go ahead. How do you define
diversity, equity, inclusion?
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Is that what your definition?
That is
give me a definition then. Would you give me a definition?
DEI.
that? Give me a definition.
Why does
Sure, I'm asking you a question, very
to
direct
define
question.
it.
ladies and gentlemen, why do people think when they give you, when you ask, what is the definition of DEI? They say, oh, it means diversity, equity, and inclusion. Each of those words have their own meaning. So you can't tell me DEI that this is the definition. No, what is the definition of each word? Then put it together and then tell me what exactly DEI is. If it has anything to do with what we think as conservatives, then yes, she is a DEI hire, meaning not on merit, simply based on what she looks like, simply based on her gender. And because of the woes of yesteryear, we're going to give her this outcome of becoming the vice president because of the woes of the past. Come on, that's exactly what she is.
Define it for me, if you
I
would.
just defined it, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a black woman?
Well, I can say no. I think
Yes.
it's maybe
I wish
a
she
little
said
bit
yes.
different. So
That's my only critique of
I've known her
I
a
wish
long
she said
time
yes.
indirectly. So I don't know. Is she Indian or is she black?
She has always
But you know
identified
what?
as a black
I
woman. She went to a
respect
historically
either
black
one.
college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then
We're
all
going to stop this one here right at that moment, ladies and gentlemen. But notice how he said, notice how he said, I respect either race. I respect Indian Americans, and I respect Black Americans. But she clearly doesn't, because if she respected one or the other, then she wouldn't feel this need to swap to whichever is politically convenient. The way Trump handled that is exactly how Christians need to handle Kamala with everything that she's doing. So exactly how Trump handled that, how he cut through that nonsense. No, I respect both races. I respect Black Americans. I respect the Indian population in this country. She does not. She doesn't, because my policies helped both populations. It wasn't about race. It was about equal opportunity for all, and I helped everyone in this country. Whereas she has to pretend to be something she isn't in order to get votes. That is not respect. The way he called that out, that's exactly how Christians have to play. We know what we've seen. We know what we've heard from her. She can't just run around here saying that she's Black today, but just a few years ago, she was Indian. It's politically inconvenient to be Indian, so I'm going to be Black now. It's politically inconvenient to say I'm for buying back the guns, having a buyback of guns mandate. It's politically inconvenient to say that I'm for open borders. So she's swapping. And exactly how Trump handled that and called into question the race thing, I think it's a perfect tactic as long as he ties it in to everything about her that is phony and fake. Every time the media tries to lie to us, every time they try to convince us that she is this accomplished vice president, that's a bunch of hogwash. If he ties in her race baiting and her bait and switch that she does with her race into everything else that she's lying about, it's the perfect tactic, not just for him, but for all Christians who are getting involved with this election cycle. Tell your neighbors, tell your friends, tell your community, tell your churches, anyone who's a liberal that you tell them, no, she's lying, she's an Indian. If they don't believe you, pull up the clip of Kamala with Mindy. I can't remember her last name. She's insignificant. All I know is she destroyed Scooby-Doo on HBO when she created Velma. But ultimately, she did that with Kamala and said that we're Indian. Show them that clip and say, yeah, she wasn't saying she was Black then. So don't buy this nonsense. She's a Black woman now. That's hogwash. Don't buy that. She's sitting here saying that Donald Trump is the one that's sowing division in this country, yet her campaign is the one that's hosting segregated Zoom meetings for different groups and demographics. White women for Kamala. She had that. Black women for Kamala. Black men for Kamala. White dudes for Kamala. It was like, why are you segregating it? Why? One of these days she's going to have transgenders for Kamala. She's going to have that because her whole thing is separate Americans. Separate them. And your talking point for each one will be dependent on whatever the group it is. Because if it's white women and white men, then you got to talk about privilege. If you find that it's Black women and Black men, then you got to talk about how they are all woe is me and how we have to help them up and make sure DEI helps them. If eventually, which I believe she will, have a transgenders for Kamala Zoom, this is going to be about how all these other Zooms that they had was talking about the different privileges of each group. Because you got to remember, if you're straight and black, whether you're a female or male, you have more privilege than the transgenders or anyone in the LGBTQ, whatever the heck group. This is segregation. This party is regressing to its original state. To be honest with you, I don't think they ever changed. I just think they got good at covering their stench with flowers and brownies, and no one paid attention because everybody was smoking some stuff and no one knew. It's too obvious now because now she's having segregated Zooms. And I'm actually going to show you guys that clip of the white women, because there was one woman that just, I used to love her. Well, I wouldn't say love her. I liked her as an actress. And I had a lot of respect for her because I liked her stuff. You know, she's a talented actress. And I'm like, her name is Connie Britton, ladies and gentlemen. I had a lot of respect for Connie Britton. And then I found out she was in this White Women for Kamala, and she's sitting there talking about her dang white privilege. What do you mean? Did you not work hard to have the position that you have? Did you not work hard to be on Friday Night Lights and to be in American Horror Story with Jessica Lange? You expect me to believe that you didn't work hard? No, it was your privilege. No, it was your privilege. You had more opportunity because you're white, and you got to check it. I'm going to show you guys her clip because even though there was a lot of cringe moments in that, I think that was the one that did it for me. She's a talented actress, but then here she is, all woe was me. I got to show you the clip, ladies and gentlemen, because I feel like I'm going to go on a rant about her unless I show it to you. So let me go ahead and pull this up because I think it was the most cringed moment that I felt for it, without a doubt. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. Look, she doesn't even know what the heck she's doing.
I forget how the internet works.
What?
Oh yeah. Hi everybody.
Oh
my God. Okay, I'm gonna keep it real tight, guys. But I am so incredibly thrilled and excited to be here. This is just an incredible group of people, an incredible evening for all of us to be together. And, you know, interesting, white women. I mean, here we are. I have to admit, when I was writing stuff down, I was like, Karens for Kamala? I don't know. You know, why is it so difficult, as Glennon was saying, to acknowledge and address ourselves as white women? But here we are. And
why is it so hard to address yourselves as white women? It's because, ladies and gentlemen, you know why it's hard? Because society has made it criminal to be white in America. You can't be white in society and be treated like a human being. That's why she's having such a dang hard time with this. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and hit play.
I am so proud for all of us to be together as women, as white women. We are the ones that have the privilege, of course, and we too have had to fight and continue to fight for our equality, our selfhood, our freedom. But we have whatever privileges our white male counterparts have had the mercy and good sense to bestow on us. And then whatever else of it we have managed to take for ourselves, often being led by, as many have said earlier tonight, the leadership of our sisters of color who have fought and continue to fight for their righteous place on God's green earth.
Okay, I got to stop, ladies and gentlemen, because she's about to take the Lord's name in vain even further, and I can't handle that. That's going to make me swear on here. What the heck does she mean when she was talking about how white women, how hard it is to say white women can't even say white women? Of course you can't. Society has made that impossible for you to say. Then she goes on to say that their white male counterparts bestowed these privileges on them. What is she talking about? It feels like she's talking out of her backside, because it's like, yes, we're there during the time where women wanted the right to vote. Yes, I can say Sojourner Truth was a slave, and she was freed, and she did give a speech to a crowd of people talking about why the women should have the right to vote, considering that it was a woman and God that brought Christ into the world. Great, phenomenal speech. Kerry Washington actually did it, I believe, somewhere in a theater somewhere. I want to say it was in California. You guys should watch. It was a great speech. But to sit here and say that it's their privilege that has to be checked so that way their Black female counterparts can have rights. What are you talking about? They have a place in society. So do you white women. It's women in general that have a place in society. The problem is feminism has distorted your idea of what you should be in society, that you all think you don't have enough of it. I mean, how ridiculous could this be? And it was even more depressing because it's Connie Britton and I like her. Even the person who announced her knew the show. She played in Friday Night Lights. We all loved Mrs. Taylor. She was great in that show. This character was Christian and conservative and a wife and knew her place. She was equally important in her marriage, equally important as a parent in that household. But she knew her place as a woman. She knew her place as a wife. Race played no part in this when it came to being a wife, when it came to being a mother, when it came to being a guidance counselor, when it came to being the principal of a high school. Why is it that she could step into the role of a Christian conservative woman but not understand her own, that mindset? She didn't believe any of that. And so as a Christian, I can see this is hogwash. I don't believe her. But they want us to believe that they're caught up in this monolith because this monolith groupthink is the truth. When the truth of the unseen is that none of them believe any of this nonsense. Every last one of them had to work hard to get to where they are. The irony is that the women who worked hard to get to their successful position in life are sitting on this Zoom advocating for a woman who did not accomplish a dang thing on merit, where everybody else on there, or at least 1/3 of those women, at least I know Connie Britton, worked her butt off to accomplish the things that she's accomplished. You don't get a Golden Globe and an Emmy nomination and not have talent. You may get in the movie, you may get in the show, but you're not getting nominated for awards. You're not. But that kind of talent, that merit is sitting there advocating for a woman who doesn't. And you want us to believe that you believe this nonsense? Hogwash. That's how we Christians have to look at everything coming from Kamala's campaign. Everything. And you know what? Another irony, the second irony in all this, and this will be my last point before I let you all go. The irony about this is that these white women are sitting here talking about how they need to check their privilege, that they need to do all of that so that way the Black woman can take her position, where really, shockingly, Black women are not subscribing to Kamala. And I know a lot of us conservatives were concerned, Kamala is running around here, oh, I am Black woman, hear me roar, I'm ready to be the president, even though we all know she lied about her race. But we were concerned that Black women would jump on her bandwagon, and funnily enough, they didn't. Now, there's this one woman, I think a lot of people have been pretty much reacting to her stuff. I believe her YouTube handle, her Twitter handle, I believe all of that stuff is pretty much called Popcorn and Pajamas. I watched reactions to one of her clips. I can't seem to locate it on either Twitter or YouTube. It may be listed on TikTok, but I won't do that. I won't download TikTok. That's a side note. But I did find another video where she was talking about how just because I'm Black, I'm not voting for Kamala Harris. Now, I'm going to play that clip for you because funnily enough, this clip came out before the white women for Kamala came out. And so it's like, y'all did this to check your own privilege so Black women can feel like they have the safe space to speak. Here is a grown woman who's like, I can make my own decisions. I can do as I see fit, as long as it's within the confines of the law. I found that to be so remarkable, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm going to play that clip for you because it was shocking. Like I said, her handle is called Popcorn and Pajamas. You guys can check her out. Let's see how that goes.
So now I'm being told that because I'm a Black woman that I should support Kamala Harris. Black women should stick together. You're a Black woman, you should support Kamala Harris. My race, no between my legs, no disrespect intended, decides how I'm going to vote. I don't care anything about being a Black woman. I would never, ever vote for Kamala Harris. I don't know how many times I got to tell y'all that. I'm not going to vote for Kamala Harris. I don't vote based on race and gender. I vote on what's best for me and my family. And I told y'all that since the day I got on this app. I don't give a crap about Kamala Harris being a woman of color because she's a black woman. I'm tired of y'all hollering that lie. I don't care anything about Kamala Harris being a woman of color. I
Thank
don't care.
you. She said it because she ain't black. This was days before Trump actually went to that conference, and before, I believe it happened right before the women, the Karen women, but I know it definitely happened before the Donald Trump black journalist conference thing. I like popcorn and pajamas.
Anything about Kamala Harris being a woman, I would never vote for a person whose whole platform is killing babies, who's killing doggone nations in the womb. Her whole platform is abortion, abortion, abortion. Why would I vote for a person and I don't give a crap about Kamala Harris being a doggone woman of color. She would never have my vote. Never, ever. Yes, I am a black woman. She would never have my vote. Never. So please stop telling me that because I'm a black woman, I have to support Kamala Harris. I don't give a crap about Kamala Harris, and I would never support her, and it is what it is.
Amen and hallelujah to that, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, it doesn't get any more real than that. It doesn't, because she's right. You don't have to look at politics and policies through the guise of race. We don't. And that woman, popcorn and pajamas, she knows that. She knows that. She's looking at Kamala's policies the same way the rest of us Christians are. We're looking at everything that she's doing through a Christian perspective. She talked about abortion. I was so surprised to hear that from a black woman, ladies and gentlemen. A black woman. Because what have we been doing for decades in Black America? Murdering our babies in the womb. That's what we do. It's part of the culture to get knocked up out of wedlock and then murder the baby. It's part of our culture. It's what we do. And it's sad, but it was so remarkable to see a black woman. And that's not the only time I've seen her either. Again, she went totally viral with that other video where she was going off about the same thing we're talking about today with Donald Trump at that conference. But she did a panel with other women, and she was swearing at the mouth. That's why I cannot show that video, because man, she was swearing at the mouth, ladies and gentlemen. But she was pretty much talking about how I don't need white women to check a privilege so that when I can speak. I was born in the United States of America. That Constitution applies to me. I will say what I want, do what I want, when I want, where I want, as long as it's in the confines of the Constitution. I can do it. As long as it doesn't violate the rights of anybody else, I'm going to say it. I'm going to do it. And that was her mentality. You see how this woman, she didn't pretend to be something that she was not to say it. She wasn't fake. She wasn't phony. She was real. And she called out that race thing with Kamala. Keep your eye on the prize, ladies and gentlemen. It's important that as Christians, we point that out. We have to, because Kamala's political rise and power, if she gets that White House, we can kiss this country goodbye. We know dang well she is not in alignment with Christian values. We know she isn't. Her shifting identities, it's revealing that deeper issue of her trustworthiness. She can't be. It's all about political gain, and she's willing to compromise absolutely anything. Her self-respect, her own identity, her own family heritage. That's what she's willing to sacrifice. That's what she's willing to do. Her actions show a pattern, ladies and gentlemen. There's a pattern of behavior, and it definitely goes against our values as Christians of honesty and integrity. Her success is just, she only has it because she's misled people, and she's pulled them away from the truth of the matter by covering up lies with glitter and with flowers, and we're not paying attention. Because everything that she's gotten from her career has been a blessing from the devil. It's definitely not from Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. If it was, she would have more integrity. If she was, she would be honest about where she stands. And her policies would be in alignment with who we are as Christians and what our values are of God, family, country. She doesn't believe in that, ladies and gentlemen. She doesn't. And the proof is in the pudding. Like I said, the race bait and switch, the segregated Zooms. This is who she is. Don't let her convince you that because, oh, I'm a woman of color, I'm Black today, I'm successful, when we know she's not. I'm accomplished and I did a good job as VP. She hasn't, and she still isn't, because she still is the vice president. Don't buy into that nonsense. That is a lie. A pretty one, because a lot of people are buying it. At least that's what the mainstream media is selling and thinking a lot of Americans are buying into it. But from what I'm seeing on social media, I'm not buying that at all. I think people are more aware than the mainstream media is willing to admit. And it may not be a Christian perspective. You know, I know a lot of people who may watch this are going to say, well, you're trying to paint the picture that, you know, the Democratic Party are Satanists and the GOP is a bunch of Christians. And no, that's not the case. The GOP isn't entirely Christian. There are transgenders for MAGA. There are LGBTQ for MAGA. Well, I won't say LGBTQ plus. I'll say that there are homosexuals and that they're trans for America First. They are for MAGA. But that's really because the new GOP movement is about economic populism. And so that brings people together. But what that is an opportunity for Christians to kind of get in there and start to make some conversions. It's time to really get more Christians out of this movement. He brought more people into the group. Now it's our job to spread the gospel and get them under God's good grace. Bring them into the glory of the King. That's our job. I like to end my shows on happy notes. I do, because it allows us to stay hopeful. It keeps my happy-go-lucky up, which is what I call my spirit. It keeps it up. So the hopeful note on this, the way to end this, is pretty much to say her deception isn't working. It isn't. It is really pushing the very group that I think all of us were so sure were going to vote for her, Black women. She is pushing them towards Trump. She's pushing them to the GOP. And that is the perfect place to be, because if the women are willing to go to the GOP simply because they're tired of being lied to by a woman who's being faux Black, then that is the perfect opportunity for Christianity to take hold of them as it once did back in the day, and to get them to shift their thinking on pretty much everything else in their life. But that's my time, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining me today on this episode of Happy Go Lucky with Asia. I'm so excited for what we're going to be doing here. Again, I know I'm working with a laptop camera and a microphone coming from my headset. I do intend to grow the podcast with a little bit better quality, with more quality content, but just bear with me. And I want to know what you guys think, though, about this episode, what you think about the Christian perspective on this. Even if you're not a Christian and you're an atheist, what's your someone who doesn't like Kamala and is considering voting for Trump? Put your thoughts about it in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Again, this is Happy Go Lucky with Asia. Stay blessed, and I hope to see you all next time. God bless you all, and have a great rest of your evening.